ladies and gentlemen, and being a producer of Wrestle Massacre as well as Inside Movies Galore, I am David Strege, and welcome to Delusions of Grandeur. Enjoy the reviews. I certainly did.
Okay, Dave, that's it. Screw you and your college flunkies. I've had enough of this from you and from everyone else. I know what you guys are trying to do. Break me down, drive me out of the force. Well, it's going to take a hell of a lot more than a lame prank like this to get Curtis Mooney to throw in his badge, so fuck you. Over.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Delusions of Grandeur. I am your host, David Strege, and I've got some more video reviews that I have in store for you. And the first one is, well, I have many boxes behind me and whatnot that I'll eventually get to. They didn't come today or anything. And I've got movies on shelves, television series, you name it. And I figured I'd go to this shelf on the left of me. At least my left, and start here. Now, originally, when I first started my collection, I was trying to A to Z it, and that never seems to entirely work, not all the time with the space that I have. So I started putting them in boxes. Well, this is one of my smaller shelves, and this is a section of my C's. Here is first couple that I have. Let me get them out. So here I have Sirius, and this is put out by Anchor Bay. Yeah, it looks like. As you can see, originally it was a rental, but that doesn't matter to me. Just having the movie is just fine with me. And it stars Brian Krause, Danielle Harris, and Lance Henriksen. I have not watched this yet, but it is in my collection, and it's distributed, like I said, by Anchor Bay. Lakeshore Drive Entertainment. So, ambitious television reporter Maria Sanchez, played by Danielle Harris of Rob Zombie's Halloween and Hatchet 2, is investigating the disappearance of over 200 Midwestern University students when a local man, Lance Henriksen, of Aliens, contacts her with information that reveals details of the serial killer and his crimes. His name is Sirius. A chilling performance by Brian Krause of Charmed. And the murders themselves were brutal. What happened next was horrific. But the worst is still to come, based on shocking true events. This bloody and brutal story of the county line cannibal will leave a taste in your mouth that you'll never forget. So there you have it, Sirius, Mind of a Serial Killer. So that was the first film in the thing. This one is Chicago Massacre, Richard Speck. and this one is put out by Maple and Barnholtz Entertainment. It's directed by Michael Pfeiffer, Michael Pfeiffer, and it stars Corin Namick, Andrew Divoff, Tony Todd, and Debbie Rochon. And on July 14th, 1966, Richard Speck took 9 student nurses hostage. He held the girls, methodically beating, raping, and stabbing them to death in one of the bloodiest mass murders in American history. Witness the terrifying story every fan of true crime must see. So there we have it. Believe this was, let's see. Yeah. So I thought that this was originally a Lionsgate film, but I guess not. It came out with a bunch of serial killer type films. I mean, films tend to come out about the same time of each other. Like if clown movies are coming out, filmmakers end up like hearing wind of it, and at least they try to market it along with other films so that their films can get out there. The next one here is directed by Serge Radonsky, and this has several laurels on it. Winner of Best Achievement in Fantasy and Horror World Festival International Film Festival, nominee for Best Horror Feature Film and Shocker Fest International Film Festival, official selection of the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival, and official selection World Horror Convention in Toronto, Canada. So this one's called Chill. Here's the cover of it. I'm sure some of you have seen it. Thomas Calabro, Ashley Lawrence, and James Rousseau star in it. In this chilling tale based on H.P. Lovecraft's Cool Air, Sam Jackson is an aspiring writer, gets a job as a clerk in an inner-city grocery owned by mysterious Dr. Munoz, a former scientist who claims to have a rare skin condition that forces him to live in sub-freezing temperatures. However, as Sam is later horrified to learn, Munoz died some time ago, but has kept himself alive through occult measures and the flesh harvested from his victims. Now facing death at Munoz's hands, Sam must decide whether he will join Munoz unholy ranks to save his own hide, literally. So that's the third film on this shelf. Chaos with Jason Statham, Ryan Philippe, and Wesley Snipes. 3 action films, and Wesley Snipes was definitely starred in the 80s and the early 90s as an action star. For him to come about with Jason Statham, who is one of the best action guys in this field. This was produced by Capitol Films, and it was put out by Lionsgate. And it was directed by Tony Giglio. Also with Chaotic Productions and Chaotic Films from the UK. And it was in association with Michael Pierce and Mark Williams Entertainment, etc., etc. So Tony, let's see. So after a deadly bank heist, detectives Quentin Connors and Shane Decker, played by Jason Statham and Ryan Philippe, are drawn into a mysterious case where nothing is what it seems. Pulling the strings is a criminal mastermind, played by Wesley Snipes, who seem to kill without warning or reason, abound with random acts of violence and deception. The only hope for survival is finding an order to the chaos. So I have not watched this yet, but I do plan to when the time arises. I mean, there are many films that I've just collected and put aside so that I can watch it in due time and due process. And I'm doing a lot of catch up. So bear with me here as I find some of these films, and then I will eventually get a review out on them, hopefully. This one is called, well, called Elfie Hopkins' Cannibal Hunter. And it's directed by, well, it's written by Riyad Barmania and Ryan Andrews, and it's directed by Ryan Andrews. And it's put out by Kaleidoscope Film Distribution, but under Screen Media, which is which Screen Media began to have a Dark Side collection, which is what they put some of their more horrifying films under. As you can see, if you can see at the top, it's kind of there in some lettering. It kind of looks like macabre films, which I think is another collection of sorts that is from a different company. But Screen Media put this out with Kaleidoscope Film Distribution, Black and Blue, and Size 9 Productions. The film stars Jamie Winstone, Aneurin Barnard, Rupert Evans, Kate McGowan, and Stephen McIntosh and Ray Winstone. So after a mysterious new family moves in and her neighbors start disappearing, aspiring detective Elfie Hopkins finally has a case to crack. The deeper she digs, the more gruesome the details get. Have Elfie and her team stumbled upon a tribe of cannibals right next door? Filled with adventure, thrills, and insatiable appetites, Elfie Hopkins' Cannibal Hunter is not for the faint of heart. So originally I put this in the C's because it says Cannibal Hunter and broad things, but I may have to put this in the E's now if I ever redid my collection. But I have so many, and many of them are just sitting in boxes. I just wish I had a larger room. This one was actually on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's part of the Man Eater series. It's called Carney, and it's a remake of a 1980s film of the same name, which I still have to come across a copy. But this one has Lou Diamond Phillips starring in it, and it's directed by Sheldon Winston, put together with RHI and Muse Entertainment, along with Bravo Pictures. Also stars A.C. Peterson, Simone Elise Gerard, Vlasta Varana, Joe Cobden, Dominic Kozagrea, and Felicia Schulman. There we have it, Carney, part of the Manhunter series, and I'm sure if I went down the line, I could probably find a copy of it. Now this one I have brand new. It's actually got like 4 laurels on it. It's written and directed by Paul China, and evidently Bloody Disgusting is behind it. It's one of Bloody Disgusting is one of the horror review sites out there that's much larger than I am, and they did for a time select some various horror films and have them underneath what they called the Bloody Disgusting Selects. And evidently they selected independent films that evidently this is put out by The Collective with Bloody Disgusting, which also is distributed by Vivendi Entertainment. That's what it says on the bottom here. But this one's called Crawl. which is not to be confused with the new film that is about alligators called Crawl. Um, so, set in an unknown rural town, a seedy bar owner hires a mysterious hitman to settle a score. The gun toting killer crosses paths with an innocent waitress, sparking a cat and mouse struggle of survival. As tension builds, everyone is um, driven to desperate measures, causing a chain of events that build to a blood-curdling climax. So there we have it. It's Crawl. It's one of the select films. It stars George Shevstov, Georgina Haig, Paul Holmes, Catherine Miller, Lauren Dillon, and Linda Stoner. With music by Christopher Gordon. I have not watched that as of yet, but I plan to. This one is very hard to find currently because it is out of print. It's called Crocodile 2. I did find this one at Half Price Books, which is a used place for movies and music and books, which is one of my main hubs that I go to. This one's called Crocodile 2. It's directed by Gary Jones. Distributed by New Image and Boaz Davidson, Frank DeMartini Productions, and looks like it was put out by Lionsgate, and this is the old Lionsgate logo, which is before Disney owned it or owns it. So there we have it, a crocodile movie called Crocodile 2, Death Swamp. I have not watched it, but I know that it was on TV, and so on and so forth. So, Casualties of War. This one stars Michael J. Fox and Sean Penn. It is a Brian De Palma film, which a lot of people tend to like Brian De Palma films. This was distributed by Columbia Pictures and TriStar Pictures. And it's a war film. I believe I've watched it once, but it's been a while. Michael J. Fox has always been a favorite actor of mine, but as many people know, he ended up with a disease that has to do with the joints in his body and whatnot. Yeah, so that was in my C's. Okay, so this is actually a UK version, and it's in a hardcore Lucio Fulci collection from the UK with Screen Entertainment, and as part of the Minerva Horror Club. And you could have gotten it on hardgore.co.uk, and it is Lucio Fulci's Cat in the Brain. This is an actual copy of the film, and I collected it because it was a different cover, and for some reason my my TV in the back there can play any region. So there we have Cat in the Brain. Another movie that says Prize Home Video on it, called Cookers, Cookers. This one was directed by Dan Mintz. It was put out by Artistry Home Entertainment, and it was produced by Pace Center Productions International and Figure Point Films, and stars Brad Hunt, Sia Batten, Patrick McGaw, And after stealing a huge stash of drugs, speed freaks Hector and Darina plan to cook up an enormous batch of crystal meth and get rich quick. Hector's old buddy Merle has the perfect hideout, lab, an old abandoned farmhouse in the woods where no one will ever find them. Unfortunately, no one will hear their screams either. Turns out they may not be alone after all. It seems this farmhouse is the site of a horrific urban legend. Now, hold up together with nothing to do but snort, smoke, and shoot up. The strung out cookers fall prey to paranoia, private demons, and terrifying visions, which, whether they are hallucinations or hauntings, are equally terrifying and just as deadly. So, there we have it. That is Cookers. I'm going to put these on the floor at least until I can put them back on this shelf. And once I get done here, so copying Beethoven, that's this next one. I actually picked this one up, I believe, at Big Lots. For some reason, I like anything to do with music, and the reason why I picked this one up was because it stars Ed Harris and Diane Kruger. Ed Harris as Beethoven. So this is directed by Agnieszka Holland, and this is a Metro Goldwyn Mayer Pictures production with Sydney Kimmel Entertainment and AVP Metafunds too. And evidently it's a Michael Taylor production. And copying Beethoven Limited UK Studio Hungary co-production. I guess a company from Hungary and the UK evidently put together. So yeah, Ed Harris's performance as Beethoven is pure raw music. That by US Weekly. In this captivating drama filled with beauty and intensity most other films can't match. When young Anna Holtz, played by Diane Kruger, a Viennese music student, is asked to transcribe scoring notes for the great Ludwig von Beethoven, Harris. She eagerly accepts, despite warnings about his volatile behavior. Part maestro, part mentor, and part madman. Beethoven reluctantly relies on Anna to help him realize the crowning achievement of a lifetime, his illustrious Ninth Symphony. So I have not seen this as of yet, but it looked really cool, especially since I know Ed Harris, and normally he's a balding guy. Or likes to have his hair a little shorter. So seeing him as the madman musician might be kind of cool down the road. I guess this has something to. This has. This is from the files of Law and Order. This is called Corruption Empire. Evidently, this looks like it's all regions, but it's from the files of Law and Order. Might be just a little. Okay. I believe that is the one with Julia Roberts in it. It's the episode from Law and Order that has Julia Roberts. So I guess they actually did. It's got Benjamin Bratt, Julia Roberts, and Jerry Orbach starring in it. So I believe I remember that one, where Julia Roberts actually kind of reprised her Pretty Woman role as someone who plays an escort. um, so in my C's is also Crazy Animal, which is a trauma film. I don't know whether this was picked up or um, in fact, it is produced by John Birmingham and Danica Digesto. It stars Jeremy, John Birmingham, Lloyd Kaufman, uh, Lenny Pedersen. So I'm still trying to figure out whether. So I wonder if this was produced and directed by John Birmingham as well. But anyways, um, okay, so this was directed by John Birmingham. After high school, Jen discovers that she was drugged and raped by her ex-boyfriend, now turned frat boy. Jen plots her revenge with a scheme using her sexy girlfriends to lure the rapist and his frat friends for a wild spring break weekend in a summer house on the coast. To her dismay, the frat boys discover they're to be held captive by an 80s hair metal guitarist in his shack in the woods and forced to listen to his epic ballads. The film stars Ron Jeremy with an appearance by Lloyd Kaufman, president of the Troma Entertainment. This maniacal comedy, directed by John Birmingham, is sure to let the crazy animal within in us all run wild. So there we have it. That is Crazy Animal. I have not yet seen this yet, so I plan to. But it is within my collection in the C's. So here is in the C's is one of my first Japanese or Chinese films or Japanese related films with Atlas, Basara Pictures, and Ventura. It's called Crazy Lips, and here's what the cover looks like. I'll read the back here. Satomi and her family are hounded by the press when her brother is accused of a vicious killing spree. Desperate to prove his innocence, Satomi goes to a psychic for help. The price the psychic asks is far more than she expected, and the answers they give her are nothing she could ever have imagined. The film is directed by Hirohisa Sasaki, and the film stars Hitomi Miwa, Hiroshi Abe, Ren Osugi, and Kazuma Suzuki. So there we have it, Crazy Lips. And I have not watched this yet, but it looks kind of crazy, as it says in the title. So definitely cool. Now I have seen this film once. This film is called Crossfire Trail, and it's directed by Simon Winger, and it stars, well, this film was actually a TNT original, and meaning it was a film that was put, a made-for-TV movie that was put on TNT at night, and it was paired with Warner Brothers, and westerns are always cool. And this was based on Louis L'Amour. Crossfire Trail, and it stars Tom Selleck. It's actually got his name in broad letters. So, Rafe Covington. And here's the tagline. He lives by a code of honor. He's willing to die for it too. Rafe Covington is as good as his word, and he's determined to keep his promise to a dying man that he'll look after the man's widow and Wyoming ranch. But the widow doubts the integrity of Drifter Covington, and an unscrupulous land grubber and his gunmen are sizing up the ranch the way a spider's eyes fly. Tom Selleck plays Covington in the stirring western that reteams him with Simon Windsor, who directed Selleck in Quigley Down Under and also helmed the award-winning Lonesome Dove. Star and filmmaker again score a bullseye steeped in the cowboy way that source novelist Louis L'Amour knew better than anyone. Valor, grit, uprightness, the signposts of the heroic West mark the Crossfire Trail. David O'Hara, Christian Kane, Wilford Brimley, Virginia Madsen, Barry Corbin, and Brad Johnson, as well as Mark Harmon, also star in this feature. Now, I have seen this once. I used to watch a lot of westerns with my father, but it was good, and I would like to watch it again someday. I haven't watched it since I have picked it up, but I have watched it on TNT at the time. And now this one I'll talk about. I have not watched it yet, but it is from Rene Cardona. He Jr. He did Guyana, Cult of the Damned, Tintorera, Tiger Shark. So this is a tale of terror and cannibalism. This one's called Cyclone. And there's the cover. As you can see, it looks kind of cool. It's got, looks like a ship down and some kind of a shark. Well, anyways, a jet plane goes down in Caribbean waters during a violent cyclone. Most of the passengers die violently or drown in the chaos, but the few survivors that remain include Carol from Giant, Baker, and Olga from Zombie. Carlatos are rescued by a group in a smaller boat. Lost at sea, the survivors hope for rescue, but as the days and nights pass by, they succumb to the heat and lack of food and water, dying one by one and surrounded by man-eating sharks. This group must fight to survive, even if that means resorting to cannibalism to stay alive. Released in the U.S. in cut form under the title Terror Storm, Synapse Films is proud to finally present Cyclone in the 118-minute English-language international version, remastered in high definition from original vault materials. So, evidently, this was released by Synapse Films, which is a decent company so far. And now I have not watched this. I have not opened it yet. But I will definitely watch it eventually. Now, I have actually heard about this movie in passing of other films, but I plan to eventually watch those films. Now, I appreciate you being able to listen to my babbling on about these films, what I have seen about them, where I bought them. Now, I bought that from the same. I bought some of these from the same seller that I have mentioned in my unboxing videos. Like Cyclone and Crazy Lips, I believe I bought from him. I believe I bought Crazy Animal, Corruption Empire. So those are the ones, some of the ones that I bought from him. Cookers, I bought from him, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, some are from him, but some are from other places. So, I appreciate your time spent on my page, and thank you for listening. Stay tuned for another cool episode down the road. So, I'll definitely have some more movies to talk about as we go on here. I'm only doing these in different intervals because I have a lot of films that I have collected, and I'm reading them off because it's a little bit more entertaining to me. And if I remember where I bought them, I'll let you know where I bought them, because sometimes you don't get to hear things from the collector's point of view, and I know that there's a lot of people who do this kind of thing out there, but I believe that I am unique in the way that I collect. I may not have a whole bunch of money when I go out and do things, because I live paycheck to paycheck. But I'm humble, and I like to share things with the world, and I thank you for the opportunity. I guess it also helps that I do have a disability. I have Asperger's syndrome, which I don't even think that they call that anymore. But I also have obsessive compulsive disorder that goes along with that, and that's what kind of doesn't stop me from collecting, and it sometimes makes me broke at times, but I get by, and I believe I'm a survivor. So thank you for listening. Have a great day, evening, and morning, wherever you are. Thanks for watching.
You were good, kid, real good. But as long as I'm around, you'll always be second best, see?